All right, welcome back, folks. This is Yankees Unloaded. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. And the Yankees unfortunately fell 4-2 in the ALDS Game 2 of the series to the Kansas City Royals. They'll be heading to Kansas City for the next two games. And if they don't watch it, they would be facing elimination in Game 4. So we're going to talk about tonight's game. That was just really frustrating, a bummer. 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. They just have not been great with runners in scoring position at all. And, we're going to talk about Aaron Judge and, he had an infield single, but aside from that, he really hasn't done anything. We're going to talk about Carlos Rodon, how he went from looking like this could be a storybook performance for him and how it turned into a nightmare. And we're also going to be talking about why the Yankees aren't in the clear, so to speak, because moving forward, we don't know what Bobby Witt Jr. is in the postseason. And Kansas City has a win in this series, tied 1-1, without the contributions of Bobby Witt Jr. So we're going to get into it. I have to tell you, after game 1, Gary, I was feeling great about this team. I still think they're going to win this series. They're the better team. I think we can all agree on that. But after today, I just feel like kind of that my soul was kind of sucked out of my body. It was kind of like one of those games that we've talked about many times throughout the year. Just you're waiting for something to happen. And I mean, we got something to happen in the 9th inning, very reminiscent to when we actually went to Yankee Stadium. It felt like the game was
true.
over.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone was hitting homers after the game was a wrap at that point. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Chisholm hit that home run, but it's all she wrote. So yeah, let's start from the top. Let's start with Rodon, who started the game. Comes out, striking out everybody, and then in typical Rodon fashion, gives up a home run, but furthermore, just completely combusts after that. So
yeah, it was like watching I know I talked to you before this. It was like watching the schoolyard bully. And I actually liked the energy. I don't know about everybody else. I enjoyed seeing the energy because you saw in the first inning. I mean, he was talking that mess. He was talking. Okay. And that's a good thing when you're portraying confidence, right? And obviously you're executing pitches. That's the most important thing. But if you feel confident enough to be talking, you should be talking throughout and executing throughout. But what we saw was that later in the game where the stuff was excellent, right? You were getting 98 up to, I believe, 99 miles an hour today. So he was juiced. But you all of a sudden you saw hard contact once. Okay. And I talked about this a few days ago before Cole start actually, is that Carlos Rodon is the great wild card because he doesn't know how to deal with adversity at all, Jake. He doesn't. And one thing that's for certain is even you just mentioned we're the better team and Kansas City's still a really good team. They deserve a ton of credit, but you need to go out and prove you're the better team. You need to play like the better team. And at some point or another, a really good team's going to punch you in the mouth. You need to do something after that. You need to punch back. Carlos Rodon hasn't shown any ability to punch back. And in my opinion, this is teeing up. I know somebody tweeted and told me essentially that there's no way you can trust Carlos Rodon in a winner-take-all Game 5 situation. And I am not biting back on that at all. I'm not going to sit up here on this show and say, oh, well, we pay him a bunch of money. He hasn't performed like the player I can trust. So as of now, we have more question marks now than we have answers. We know Nestor Cortez isn't going to be a part of this series. That's a bummer. Carlos Rodon is a player that is going to be hyped up. He's going to make one mistake, no big deal, but he doesn't recover. He starts to make the second and the third and the fourth mistake. And one thing that we know for certain, Jake, is when you make 2 or 3 mistakes in succession in one inning, you are going to give up 4 runs to really good baseball teams, and you're not going to win those games.
No, you're not. And unfortunately, to make matters worse, Rodon not being able to get through 4 means Hamilton, Cousins, Hill, Holmes, Canely, Meza, Weaver. Just like that. So
we almost pitched.
I know.
I mean, it is insane how many players we utilize. And to your point, it's devastating for us to have done that because we're a team that needs guys to be fresh. We're not a bullpen this is not the Cleveland bullpen. Okay. We're not going 5 or 6 arms deep. No, we've seen guys like Clay Holmes, who pitched very well in game 1. We've seen these type of guys struggle immensely. Okay. We need the rest. We need guys to be fresh. If we want to go win a World Series, which a lot of people who listen to the show, maybe they don't think we're going to win, but if we were going to, those guys need to be fresh. This is not how you do it.
Derek Jeter talked about that. He said
the
Yankees use their bullpen like the way he said it was the Yankees can't use their bullpen the way they use it. These guys are not meant for that. And I agree. I've said it.
So as a lifeline is essentially the way he sees it, which that's how I see it, right? The Yankees feel if at any point in the game, I would rather this reliever be on the mound at this moment, the starter's out the game. And a lot of times you get to the 4th inning of a game and you feel that way, but there's value in punching through the 4th inning, value in getting to the 5th or 6th inning, which we gave Aaron Boone a lot of credit earlier this year. He did that. He was extending guys. And long behold, our bullpen ERA and a lot of the numbers that we were putting out were really good, right? And then all of a sudden, a couple starting pitchers go down, right? Poteet goes down. Few guys get hurt, and next thing you know, we're talking about Rodon and Stroman coming out of the game in the 3rd or 4th inning. You're not going to last that way. Unless you're built with a three-headed monster with the Betances and the Chapmans and the Britons, you're not going to win, and it's not going to be sustainable. So to Derek Jeter's point, yes, there was value in getting innings. There was value in what CC Sabathia was doing coming out of the game in the 7th or 8th inning, going to your bridge guy and then straight to your closer, which obviously we had Mariano Rivera. But I will say, Jake, to kind of tie this whole thing in a bow, how important, because I know we gave up 4 runs today. That is not insurmountable for a team who expects to win the World Series. We talked about it. This offense has to be better. This offense
absolutely
has to put together better at bats. Reagan's wasn't very good today. He did not have his control to a point where Salvador Perez pointed to the dugout and said, "Get somebody warm. He's not ready to go." This was shown on the broadcast. It was talked about on the broadcast. How do you catch Reagan's on a day like this? And you look up at the end of the game and you have 2 runs. Are we blaming the layoff, or are we going to blame ourselves for not performing?
Oh, well, I mean, it's on the Yankees for not performing. Reagan's was all over the place. His command wasn't there. Yeah, it really frustrating because that's now 7 earned runs given up by the pitching staff and 0 given up by the bullpen.
Wow.
That's really frustrating. That's frustrating. I don't care what anyone says. When you have a bullpen that's pitching that well and it's being wasted by a Rodon start, giving up 4 earned runs in 3 2/3, it's terrible. Do you know what that is?
Has there been a team that wins the World Series without good starting pitching?
I don't know, but I don't think the Yankees will be the first if they don't get some good starting pitching going. You know what that start reminded me of?
What did it remind you of?
It reminded me of Will Warren. You know how like Will Warren got off that one start? He got off to like a really good start and you're like, oh, yeah. Then he got just blasted 3-run home run. And it was like after that, it just all over the place and ERA is at 10. Guess what Carlos Rodon's ERA is now? 9.82.
They were saying that he had no hit stuff after the first 3 innings, because I know he gave up, I believe, a single to right field at Juan Soto almost let go to the wall. But after 3 innings, Carlos Rodon looked like a guy that we'd be looking at to be on the mound in the 8th inning. We're talking about complete dominance. But again, he doesn't have it, whatever that it is, where something happens wrong and you have resolve. you're going to have resolve at some point or another. We've talked about this with Garrett Cole. You're going to go up there, your pitch comm breaks. Is that just going to take you off your game? Oh, we had a rain delay for 15 minutes. Are you going to blame that on the reason that you're not sharp for the day? Or are you just going to overcome it because the other pitcher has to do the exact same thing? Sometimes you're just going to get punched in the jaw and you need to throw a punch back. A lot of our guys, they're really good players. I think we have a very good team, but there are some players on this roster that just haven't mastered the ability to overcome really just something happening wrong. Just overcome it. It's not that bad. You give up a home run. We talked about Salvador Perez actually before this game. I tweeted before this game. You mentioned yesterday, you said, man, you actually just said they should walk Salvador Perez. There's really no reason to take on this challenge. You said every single time. And I tweeted before the game. I said the keys to the game, Rodon, don't limit the home run ball. Do not give up homers to Salvi Perez. Obviously, Witt Jr. is struggling. He's struggling right now. That may turn around in game 3. But as of now, he hasn't proven that he can do that. Just don't let Salvi beat you. He comes into the game and Salvi beats him. How? We actually said this the last time we played Kansas City, and yet no adjustment was made. I don't understand how the game plan gets to that point, because when you make mistakes in terms of your game plan and how you're going to go about pitching, you're putting pressure on players like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and all those guys to go win a high-scoring game. And frankly, we're not playing like a team that can go win that game. So that mistake is costly. It just was. You can't make that mistake. Essentially, an offense that goes out and gives you 2 against a struggling Reagans, well, you got to go out there and be perfect. They weren't perfect today.
It's just so frustrating because Rodon was so, like you said, like he was fired up and everything and has a giant smile on his face and, you know, he's feeling it. And then you give up that home run. It's like, you're a pitcher in baseball. You have to know that's not the end of the day, you know? So it's 1-1, big deal. Like okay, Stanton's run means nothing now. Now it's just tied, right? Clean slate. Might as well be 0-0. But why did you let Kansas City score? Pham single, knocks in Gurriel. Hampson singles to left, scores Pham. Garcia singles to right. This is just him melting down.
It was an unraveling.
It's not like he just gave up home run after home run. That would be a little bit more excusable, I think, because sometimes it's just like, okay, you know, guys hit mistake pitches. It happens. And guys get away with mistake pitches. When you're giving up all these singles that are just peppered all over the inning, just tells me you just don't have it, you know? And he let that home run ruin the entire game. In the 4th inning, Gary, it was 1-1 and he couldn't handle it. Absolutely melted down. So the question is, I mean, now because of Rodon's poor performance after starting off so hot, now you wonder, well, people are worried about him starting game 5. There could potentially not be a game 5. Like the Yankees are in trouble. That's how I hope people see this, because I see it that way. I think the Yankees are in trouble.
Yeah, we are a very good road team. So my expectation, and I know your expectation, is that we're going to win at least one of these games, but we don't have that guarantee. We forfeited that by losing game 2. That's part of the reason why we spent so much money on Rodon in the first place, is that these type of starts are taken care of. That was what our hope was. And then he shows up here to Yankee Stadium. We're playing this game in New York. And whether or not people said that the crowd noise was turned down, people described it at the yard that it was really loud. There are no other conditions that we could possibly tee up. Kansas City is a good team. They are.
Yeah.
Rodon just showed up. He's supposed to be a 2. He's supposed to take care of starts like this. And if we now feel that we have no assurance that these type of starts are going to be taken care of, remember something. These games are only going to get more high stakes, more important, more stressed out. This is the ALDS. This isn't even close to high stakes yet. Not. It's just not. If the Yankees lose in 4 games to the Kansas City Royals, yes, we're going to be disappointed, but it's not stressful yet. When it would be stressful is in a World Series. Imagine Carlos Rodon in a situation where it's 2-0. The Yankees are winning in the 5th. He's got it going, and he gives up a solo jack. You know what I'm doing? I'm pulling him right then and there. And that goes to show you, I can't trust him in the heat of battle. I can trust his stuff. His stuff's great, right? We saw it on the screen today, 98, 99, to the point where he's beating his chest. I told you, Jake, before we recorded, some people are going to take that confidence or overconfidence as negative, not being humble, right? It's a reason to be humble, more even keeled. I understand that, but maybe that's how he gets himself fired up. But here's my problem with it. When you actually make a mistake, which are always going to happen, are you the same person? Is that who you really are? Or is that who you want to project? And in my opinion, Carlos Rodon's trying to project this personality in New York instead of just being himself. And I know people are going to think that, or maybe he would even hear this and say, well, that's awfully, right. That's crazy to say that I'm trying to project this person, but sometimes you're trying to get yourself psyched up to be this person when in actuality, you just need to be yourself. He has not been that. And I know for a fact, this is not the Carlos Rodon, that beating the chest stuff. There's no way that that is you. And then you make a mistake, get out of an inning, and all of a sudden you just walk off like someone just shot your dog. What happened? All of a sudden, that confident pitcher that you wanted me to believe you were, you're not that person anymore. Well, that is just going to, I'm not going to blame Rodon for the reason this offense didn't show up, but I will tell you, when you see that weakness on the field, it has to just permeate and just stench the whole field where no one has a bit of confidence. And I even said the same thing about Garrett Cole. Something happens wrong. Are you still that confident guy? And I think, what's his name, who really mucked up the broadcast today? Who was it again? Bob Costas. Yeah, Bob Costas was talking about the lack of confidence that he was seeing from Garrett Cole. Why do we have players making $360 million and $162 million, and we can't get confidence that's obvious to the naked eye? I feel like that's the bare minimum, is to seem like you deserve to be here. When we call you guys one of the best teams, if not the best team in the American League, my expectation is for you to go out there and at least seem like that.
Well, yeah, also grown adults. I don't know. It always felt kind of weird that you can't, like, you have to get yourself psyched up for the ALDS. That's a problem. I don't know. That's not good. I don't even want to talk about that. Yeah, so good Lord.
Isn't it frustrating?
Anyway, it's so frustrating.
How frustrating is this, right?
It's so frustrating, especially after Sunday. You know, it's just, I can't stand games that you should win that you lose. Yes. This is a game they should have won. They should have. And the offense, now we're going to talk about, wasn't good enough. Too many times there are guys on base and they can't come away with anything. That has been a staple with Yankees baseball for a long time. Just seems that way anyway. But, you know, I think people are going to get on Juan Soto, didn't get a hit, and Gleyber Torres because everyone else in the lineup got a hit. Gleyber Torres and Juan Soto are a big reason why they won game one. They're a big reason why we're not talking about them being down 0-2 right now. So the last thing I'm going to do is throw any sort of shade at Torres and Soto.
We almost traded Gleyber Torres. So imagine that.
I know. Well, look, Aaron Judge, we got to have a conversation, serious conversation about Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is Peyton Manning. He is the best. He is the best regular season player in the league by far. And when he gets to the postseason, I don't know. But you know what's good? Peyton Manning ended up winning a Super Bowl. So it's still possible. It's still possible. I love Peyton Manning. I mean, but he would tell you himself, Tom Brady was the playoff GOAT and he was the regular season GOAT. Peyton Manning is the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. He's better than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady, when he got to the postseason, I like Drew Brees too. I also like Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Any one of those players. Point being, as soon as Peyton got to the postseason, it was like he wasn't the same guy, which is so bizarre because you talk about a guy that's confident, the leadership, all of that.
Yeah.
But it would go away. And then Aaron Judge is the same freaking thing. Like, you look at the confidence, you look at the leadership, you're like, oh, it's all there. And then the postseason comes and he just doesn't look confident. He doesn't look like it looks like someone needs to go and tell him, hey, by the way, you're the best player in the world. So go ahead and show them. It looks like he needs like one of those like bad news bears pep talks.
It is honestly, it's just staggering because the crazy part, people will listen to what we're saying here, right? Because we're having some fun with this.
Yeah.
But what's so interesting about it is people think that we're trying to project who he'll always be. No, we actually predicted that he's going to get this right, but we don't know if it will. He's still got to go do it. We don't play for him.
Yeah.
What we're telling you, and these are the numbers I'm looking at, okay? So we're going to go and just read you the numbers, okay? Aaron Judge, I don't need to read you his regular season numbers. You guys just watched it. Historic, okay? On the broadcast, they were talking about him being arguably a top 3 right-handed hitter of all time. That is objectively probably true. He's incredible, right? Here's his numbers in the postseason. We're going to start in 2017. His batting average was 188, okay, in 13 games. In 5 games in 2018, he hit 421, okay? Very good. 2019, he hit 265 in 9 games. 2020, the COVID year, 7 games. He hit 133, Jake. That is unheard of, okay? He's just not getting hits at all. 2021, he hit 250, really didn't slug at all. 2022, he hit 139 in 9 games, okay? So there's a decent sample size there. And then so far, he's hitting 143 and not slugging. So he's also striking out way more than he's walking. So the idea that you'd say, oh, well, he must just be getting pitched around, and this is like no Juan Soto available, so there's no traffic. No, he is flat out struggling. It's not about how people are pitching him, because people have been asking me this. What is the meaning of this? Is it the pitching? Into which I say, no, it is not the pitching, because look at the rest of the lineup. He is far and away our best offensive player on our whole team. It's not close, okay? Juan Soto is a very good player. He's not on the planet with Aaron Judge during the regular season, okay? Juan Soto was playing the way he was playing during the regular season, which was inferior to Aaron Judge against the same pitching that Aaron Judge was seeing. So Aaron Judge was proving, I can hit this pitching better than all these guys. Now all of a sudden, we get to October baseball, and all the guys that he was better than, he's suddenly inferior to. What changed? Has to be confidence. People said he must be pressing because he struggled. And I'll tell you this, Jake, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's his job to get himself ready. At no point did I say, man, I wonder what Derek Jeter has to do to get himself ready for October baseball. All I knew was he gets ready. He's better in October than he is in regular season baseball. Jose Altuve. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that name. Jose Altuve, a better baseball player in October than he is in August. That matters. It just does. At some point or another, I have to stop asking why and trying to diagnose why you are the player that you are. And just say, if you don't put up the numbers, I have to portray you for exactly the numbers that you produce. That is the player you are. And as of now, Aaron Judge is wait for it, he is a 208 hitter in October baseball with an on-base percentage of 311. Remember something. At the deadline, we were talking about wanting a bat. We just called it a bat. Remember that? Get us a couple bats with an on-base percentage hovering around 325, 330, and we'll just say that'll be helpful at some way. Aaron Judge is less than that. Less than someone we would even consider a bat. So this is who he is right now, Jake, and that's unfortunate. It has to change, and I'm not even stressing about the rest of the series. All I know is if the Yankees have any plans to pass Kansas City and go past that point, this player, number 99, Aaron Judge, has to resemble what he was in the regular season, or this team isn't going anywhere, period.
No. 5 games in the wild card, and he hits 300, and he has an OPS over 1200. After that, ALDS, he's hitting 194 with an OPS of 701. ALCS, 200 with an OPS of 703. So that's the thing. 208 is a number that's a lot higher because of the AL wildcard stats that he has. So, look, he has to get it together. There's no other way to put it. I can't help him. You can't help him. I don't think the hitting coach can help him. I think it's all mental. He's going to have to figure it out. If he doesn't figure it out, well, I don't know if – well, I don't think the Yankees win the World Series unless Aaron Judge figures it out. I think that was really based on the idea, like you and I were saying, we think Aaron Judge is going to turn it around. Like,
yes.
That
you mentioned an Alex Rodriguez 2009-esque postseason. And if we don't get that, I would say it doesn't even need to be to that level for the Yankees to win. Aaron Judge needs to be a threat. And I'll tell you this, when Aaron Judge was like 4 or 5 batters away, I wasn't even anticipating those at-bats. I usually do. Most often, if I see Anthony Volpe's name, I see Alex Verdugo's name, right? You see those names, you go, oh, okay, here we go. Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto, and big number 99. You can already anticipate, you could feel it during the regular season. Everybody recognizes that moment of the game. I don't feel that right now. Right now, there's no presence. And until he's driving the ball with some authority, with any regularity, it changes the entire complexion of this offense. And I know some people are going to say, well, this is just game 2, right? There's going to be bumps in the road. You're absolutely right. In the short term, that's what this is. But this is long-term data I just read off. This is since 2017. This is a long time, Jake. So yeah, it has to change. We don't know, as you mentioned, there's nobody who can help him. This is a confidence thing. Same thing with Peyton Manning. I guarantee you it wasn't X's and O's the reason that Peyton Manning couldn't win a Super Bowl or multiple Super Bowls and be Tom Brady. No, it is some level of execution and confidence and just getting things done when it matters. And if you don't think for a second that you're going to get something done, you don't have the same level of confidence. I reckon that Aaron Judge during the regular season, a large reason of why he's as good as he is he just believes he's that good, right? He obviously has a ton of talent, but you have to believe I'm a future Hall of Famer to go play like the way we saw 55 plus homers, 140 some RBIs. Yeah, that type of guy. This doesn't resemble who this is. I don't know what this is. I don't, but I will say, kind of off topic here, I'm expecting maybe some Jason Dominguez action in game 3 at DH. I can feel it. I believe you could kind of see the way that the broadcast was talking about it. I know the broadcast doesn't determine how we make our lineups, but Giancarlo Stanton it was like watching a dinosaur today. They were talking about the fact that he couldn't run. He's just slapping balls on the ground. We needed more athleticism. We need something, a spark. I think Jason Dominguez may be able to be enough of a distraction and bring some energy onto the field and maybe get Aaron Judge acclimated to postseason baseball. Yeah, we're going to have to hope. I was looking at A-Rod's 2009 postseason. He already had 4 hits to this point. A-Rod's postseason in 2009 was insane. There were only 2 games in which he didn't have a hit. You know what people say to me all the time? All the time. I don't know if you get this. You have to. People tweet to me and go, well, if Aaron Judge turns it on and has A-Rod 2009, because Alex Rodriguez was terrible in the postseason for his career outside of 2009. I'm like, how can you even say that statement? I was like, once you have one elite postseason, the idea that you're a struggling postseason hitter, in my opinion, should die. That shouldn't. If Aaron Judge goes out and hits 2 home runs in game 3, okay, we shouldn't be talking anymore about struggles at this point because he's the reason that we won that game. And if we went out and won a World Series this year, I don't want to hear about Aaron Judge in 2018 and his struggles. It doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. But that's going to happen first.
Yeah, it's like the buffoon on Twitter that was calling out your dad and saying that he
Oh,
disappeared
yeah, I
in
won't even say his name
2004.
because nobody watches his podcast anyway, but,
Yeah, no, he's just a
yeah.
buffoon, but yeah.
Yeah, he was like, well, people don't even know what was said. They were like, yeah, the reason that Gary Sheffield was dead weight. They said Gary Sheffield was dead weight in the 2004
No,
ALCS.
it was weird though. It was like he had an issue with you, clearly, and
Oh,
was
he does. I
trying
know
to
exactly who he is.
so he was trying to get a rise out of you. So I called him out on it because I'll use facts. And he was just saying how like 2004, which by the way, Jeter was not better than Sheffield in that series. A-Rod was not better than Sheffield in that series. And
There were a lot of guys
Posada.
struggling for sure.
Posada was not better than Sheffield in that series. Those are three guys. The only one that you could say was better than Sheffield in that series was Matsui, because he was just Matsui lived for the postseason. And Bernie Williams had a really good postseason in 2004. But he just randomly brought up your dad. Like for no reason. It was just like,
That's
he's
just a
dead
low
weight.
testosterone individual. Unfortunate. He's in existence, unfortunately.
But you could be cool or you could be a beta, and he chose to be a beta.
That guy is as beta as it gets. But I'll tell you this Yankees team, we'll circle it back. I would say the focus here is because I know the Schmidt, right? Clark Schmidt is slated to be the game 3 starter, which you mentioned first that this is a good move. I agree.
Absolutely.
I think this is a good move for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And not only this, the focus of this game shouldn't be on starting pitching. It shouldn't be on where's Clay Holmes? How's he going to insert himself into this game, or if he should at all, right? What's Weaver doing? What's Boone going to do? No. What are the guys who are penciled in? What are the key cogs in our lineup going to do? Are they going to answer? Are we going to talk about a layoff? Are we going to talk about a slump? Or are we just going to go out and perform and stop talking about all the variables? There's so many variables. If you watch the Yankees, you watch the Yes broadcast, and we have a very good broadcast. We talk so much about what could go wrong, why something may not work, what excuse we possibly could come up with as to why something happened, rather than just saying do it or don't. That's where I'm at. The lineup has to go out and score. I understand this is the hardest game in the world. We got it. The other team is playing also the hardest game in the world. Go be better than the other team. That's the end of it. Kansas City can be a really good team that's deserving of respect, but we believe we're a better team. Go prove it. Otherwise, you're not a better team.
Yeah, I think the hope is that Dominguez can do something in this series. Right now, I don't feel overly confident in some of these guys. I know Stanton had a nice hit, but do you feel confident with Stanton at the plate in the series? I don't. I don't. Why should I?
Well, I'll say this. Well, I'm going to answer your question directly. The answer is no. But I will tell you, I've never felt confident about a Giancarlo Stanton at bat ever in my entire life. Do you remember what I said at the beginning of this year? Even when he was playing great, I said his job is to be consistently inconsistent, which features a ton of highs, right? It's a roller coaster. He's going to have a month where he hits 10 homers, and he did, right? And then there's going to be another month where he looks like George Washington cutting down a tree. But I will tell you, you don't have any... Giancarlo Stanton's not a person that I would rely on third and second, nobody out, and say, okay, get me a fly ball. We're in a run producing situation. Go get a job done. I would never say I have confidence in that at bat. He's just not that type of player. He's the type of player, whenever he comes up, he's going to hit a home run at a random time. You have no idea when it's going to happen. I just don't know if I'm confident in that type of approach in high stakes games. I don't know if that style works in postseason baseball. I would venture to say it doesn't. I've actually talked about that quite a bit. So what I would rather do is, if we face a right-handed pitcher, which we are, and facing Lugo, I'm putting Jason Dominguez out there, someone who's more athletic, someone who has a higher baseline, someone who can run the bases, right? Brings a different dimension and energy to the field, because I don't expect them to put Dominguez in left field just because obviously there's a lot of ground to cover and he hasn't proven he can play defense. Put him at DH, leave Verdugo out in left field. He's been just fine. So no. answering your question directly, Giancarlo Stanton doesn't make me exude confidence. That's not the way I would describe it. I just know the way everyone describes him, which is that he's a threat, a random threat that nobody can see coming.
I think it's a fascinating argument because I don't think there's a right answer. You either in these close games in the playoffs, he's essentially your get out of jail free card, but you don't know if you have it. That's the thing. He's a get out of jail free card, but you don't know if you have it for that moment. He's capable, more so than anybody, he's capable of turning anything into a home run. Right.
So he's like a draw 4 card. But have you ever seen the real rules of that?
Yeah. But the problem, Gary, is that are you going to go with inexperienced Jason Dominguez, who's athletic and can help on the base paths, but maybe not as much of a threat as Stanton? Or are you going to go with Stanton, who's had, success in the postseason? He is a good postseason hitter for his career. He has played more than Jason Dominguez and run the risk you just roll with the punches. He's unathletic right now in his current state. He's an automatic double play if the ball is on the ground and there's a runner at first. But he has that ability to hit a home run. To me, I don't think it's as simple as saying Jason Dominguez. I don't think it's as simple as saying Stanton. I think this is more of what do you prefer? You, the listener, the viewer, what would you do? Because I think that there are different answers, and this is where a manager actually has to manage a game. I don't think baseball managers do anywhere near as much as NFL coaches or NHL coaches or NBA coaches. I don't. But this is when they manage. This is what they have to do. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I will tell you, Gary, I was starting to feel like Stanton's lack of mobility on the base paths has already cost them 2 runs. And I do think that's a problem. So I would roll with Jason Dominguez at DH. Now, I don't know if everyone else would. I don't know if everyone else would. But I just think Stanton's lack of mobility. And again, I understand close game, be able to have him come up, bases loaded, and you have that grand slam threat. But at the same time, Jason Dominguez is supposed to be that threat too. And I know he's more athletic. So I think if we're going to say defense matters more in the postseason, and home runs matter, but home runs, it's like the people that, go on sports books and bet on a guy to hit a home run. It's just a total crapshoot. There's no guarantee. So the way I see it is actually in postseason baseball, you can really make the argument that Jason Dominguez goes 1 for 7, like Stanton did, or whatever it is that he did. He goes 1 for 7, but now I have that speed, and he beat out an infield single, and maybe he scored when Stanton wouldn't have scored. Like, to me, I could see the value there for the postseason more than just rolling with Stanton, hoping he hits a home run. Because the only reason he's out there is because you're like, he's dangerous. But we're not talking about Duke Ellis. We're talking about Jason Dominguez. Jason Dominguez is supposed to be more dangerous than Stanton by next year. A lot of people believe that.
That's true.
So I don't think it's simple to make this, but that's my rationale behind it, is that I've now seen them miss out on 2 runs. Didn't happen in this game, but I think that's enough. And I think it might seem unfair, but the reality is I just want mobility on the base paths. I want the little things, because the little things are what are going to be sustainable to win you games in the long run in the postseason. Because we could talk about all we want with the home runs, right? but home runs are not sustainable. The Yankees they can't just rely on the long ball every single game. Sometimes you're going to have it, sometimes you don't. But what you will have, because it's consistent, is when a guy knows how to run the base paths and has mobility and is a threat to steal and is a threat to score from first. That translates over game to game to game. Like, that's not like rolling the dice with the power. So I would rather have that than roll the dice on power.
Yeah, no, the rationale, I totally understand what you're saying, because technically speaking, if Giancarlo Stanton, my guess, we don't see him in game 3, okay? They'll call it giving him a day, but reality is they're really benching Giancarlo. He's not hitting. And Jason Dominguez against a right-handed pitcher, he's going to play. That's our guess. But as you said, you projected Jason Dominguez. Let's just say he did go exactly what Giancarlo did, right? Which is not a high performing player the last 2 games. It just wasn't, okay? Not a big deal, but it's not like he was doing anything. We're talking about ground balls, okay? Jason Dominguez runs out probably one of those balls. He's not rolled up into a double play. And it just brings a different dynamic. That's what people are talking about when they say that speed, contact, and not just rolling a ball in the infield, but actually hitting line drives, playing an all-around brand of baseball. There's more ways for you to beat the opposing team. That's objectively true. But you also have to remember that's probably the best decision to go with Jason Dominguez. That's my opinion. But the Yankees also know if Giancarlo Stanton is off the field and you're down 3 and Jason Dominguez comes up with a man on first and third and 2 outs, the more likely player to tie the game at that moment is Giancarlo Stanton. It's the reason he plays, is that every once in a while when you're in a situation, a very compromising situation in a game where you probably shouldn't win, Giancarlo can essentially undo it all by doing what he does best, which is look anemic for 3.5 games and then just hit a 3-run jack. And all of a sudden we're all excited about Giancarlo again, right? So that's the threat that everyone talks about on the broadcast. Home runs and waiting for homers really suck when your best player in Aaron Judge is struggling, right? Because now you're looking at the players around him and saying, okay, are we putting him in position to succeed? When you have power players playing behind another struggling power player, it looks very frustrating. And it feels like, and I feel like other people would probably agree with this, around the 6th inning, it felt like this game was over, even though the game really wasn't that out of reach. It didn't feel like we could string anything together. In large part of our style of play, Aaron Judge is an out. Then all of a sudden you see Giancarlo Stanton a couple hitters later. Yeah, it's going to feel like you're not a threat ever because those players right now aren't stringing things together. But you know who could help string things together a little bit easier? Contact players, players who don't strike out quite as much, players that maybe can slap a ball on the ground and just run out a ball instead of rolling into an easy double play. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's not an easy call. It's the reason we're not managers, but I'm rolling with the player who can help the power game. Power game is not dead. I love home runs. You need to hit homers to win in October, but you also need complementary players around the power guys to take some pressure off of those guys. Right now, there's a lot of pressure on Aaron Judge. He's feeling it clearly. We need to make that even easier because if he shows up and Jason Dominguez helps put him in a position that's much easier for him to succeed, well, after Aaron Judge breaks the glass ceiling here, I mean, it's probably all systems go at that point.
Yeah, and at first, who are you going with for game 3?
You know,
because I think I would go with Oswaldo being the lefty.
I'm probably going back with Cabrera. He already showed. I knew exactly why he didn't play today. Some people were really frustrated with that. I
understood it.
There was no reason for him to play today from the simple standpoint of Reagan starting this game. Cabrera is not good against left-handed pitching, and the reverse splits that lefties have against Reagan's. Cabrera has no pedigree of taking left-handed bats against lefties. Verdugo does, right? A lot of these guys in our lineup, they have some type of visual of what that's like, taking a lefty on lefty at bat. For whatever reason, Cabrera is still switch hitting, even though his numbers are very good as a left-handed hitter. So I understood it perfectly. You saw Birdie making some pretty nice plays over at first. I expect to see Cabrera again.
Yeah, I do too. I think those two are going to go back and forth. Maybe you get a Ben Rice pinch hit appearance, but I don't think that they're going to use Ben Rice unless they absolutely have to. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, no,
So.
I mean, I guess I would assume we don't see Ben Rice unless for whatever reason you see some power righty at the end of the game and it just kind of works out that way. But Cabrera can hold his own offensively. You've talked about it a lot, is that if he had a larger role on this team, that he would probably be a much better player. And I kind of agree with that. But Cabrera has played pretty well over the last 30 days. He swung a pretty nice bat. And most importantly, he's able to swing a bat recently, very recently. Just put him out there. He's playing a nice first base. He's not part of the problem. That's one thing I know for certain. The problem right now is our key cogs. What are those guys doing? If our 1-2 punch is looking like a 1-2 punch, I don't expect to have a problem. But again, if 99 doesn't play well, are we really going to be looking at first base? Probably not. We're more than likely going to be looking at the player that we considered our AL MVP and saying what went wrong.
Yeah, it's true. I will say, because I thought this was interesting, Aaron Judge at, where was it? At Kauffman Stadium has 5 home runs in 18 games. So that'll be interesting. I mean, I think he just needs to get one out and he'll start to get some confidence. But I also think big issue with him is that I think he's swinging for the fences. I really do. I think he's trying to do too much. I think that's leading to it. But Gary, talking about, like, to wrap this thing up, you know, I don't think we touched too much, and we might have already done it, on Bobby Witt Jr.
No, we didn't touch on that.
We can talk about it in unison with Game 3, because I just want to do a quick preview of Game 3. So, guys, the thing that I'm the most concerned about is that Bobby Witt Jr. hasn't done a lick of anything, and the Royals are tied up. And now you're going back home, and it's like, well, Bobby Witt Jr. is back at home, and this is a runner-up MVP. And if he gets going, it could be a big problem for the Yankees. So I just think that right now, I know it sounds maybe doom and gloom, even though I think the Yankees are going to win the series, but I think the Royals are in position right now to feel like they're winning the series. Like, currently, the Yankees should feel like they have to catch up, and the Royals should feel like we have them where we want them. That's, in my opinion, that's exactly how the Royals should feel, because just don't let them leave Kauffman Stadium. Like, you get the 2 wins and boom, it's over. You're celebrating going to the ALCS on your turf. And I think that that's a realistic possibility. So going into Game 3, Gary, 7:08, and it will be on Wednesday, another off day. We love that.
At least they're traveling. I get the off day with travel. Staying home made no sense. But I also wanted to explain a point that you touched on roughly earlier before we went live. You said, well, Bobby Witt Jr. may be 0 for 9 in his career in the postseason, but we don't have enough of a sample size to say that he's really struggling. Bobby Witt Jr. very well could be fine. Remember, Bobby Witt Jr. was struggling in September as well. Don't forget that. We actually talked about whether or not Bobby Witt Jr. could go essentially outrun Aaron Judge, and we said he won't. But the point is that his stock was doing this. He wasn't playing well. Do you guys think he was feeling a ton of pressure, October pressure? He wasn't. He just wasn't playing well. So having said that, we have no idea if this is any October struggle. This could just be Bobby Witt Jr. trying to figure something out. Okay. Aaron Judge, on the other hand, we have 178 at bats of sample size, not 9. Okay. So Aaron Judge and the Yankees have to feel like we may have a long-lasting, long-term problem here. The Royals may not. And another thing, Jake, another aspect to this Bobby Witt Jr. saga His game, if he hits a line drive single 110 off the bat, I go, oh, he's awake, right?
Yeah.
That's his game. Line drive single, done, right? He doesn't have to hit a ball 450 feet and electrify the stadium. He can. That's not the way he plays. His style of play is hitting line drives. I've watched him do it all year. Aaron Judge, on the other hand, you just mentioned his home run numbers. I think it was like 5 homers in 18 games, right? Super compelling numbers. But you were saying, well, if he just cracks one out of here, maybe that'll get him back on the schneid, right? But here's the thing. If Aaron Judge hits a line drive single, I don't go, oh, wow, he's out of his postseason slump. I don't feel that way. And that right there is the problem with the power game in struggling power hitters in October, is that they don't feel like they're out of a slump per se, unless they essentially execute the power game. You know what's really hard to execute? When the best pitching in the world is on the mound, hitting home runs. It is very difficult. Bobby Witt Jr. knows, okay, I can simplify my approach, hit a couple line drives, they'll fall. And when they do, my team just won game 2 without me doing anything. I can hit a couple singles, steal a couple bases. That's not an overly drastic change to what he was looking to do in games 1 and 2. But Aaron Judge, on the other hand, he knows he has to execute the power game. That's very difficult. So if I'm the Royals, I feel like I'm leading this series. Of course, they know that it's David versus Goliath in the media, but postseason baseball, everything's much closer than what they appear. It's always that way. It's like this in hockey. Everything's close, and that's going to play right into the Royals' hands. So for Bobby Witt Jr., yeah, in the Yankees part, I don't feel very good about it. The Yankees have to continue this. But again, right now, this is a matter of offense as a total, right? Our entire offense, and Aaron Judge is a huge part of that. We've talked about it all year. Bobby Witt Jr. is the same thing. And the Royals have to feel pretty good, the fact that they've put up some runs without him.
Absolutely. And, you know, it'll be interesting because Clark Schmidt, you know, will be on the hill against Lugo. We've sung our praises about Lugo on this show already. I don't need to go crazy about Lugo, but there was a little bit of a surprise. They decided to go with Clark Schmidt over Luis Gil. I think a lot of people were, it was kind of a mixed bag. As you know, I love Gil, but I also love Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt has not faced Kansas City this year. Some will look at that as be like, oh, that's not good. But honestly, I think that's an advantage. I think Carlos Rodon might have been at a disadvantage, the fact he had already faced them twice. Truthfully, I do wonder how much that factored in. Luis Gil also actually ended up facing them on September 11th. He faced Kansas City, and he pitched pretty well. They ended up winning the game in 11 innings, 4-3. He gave up 5 hits. He had 5 strikeouts, and yeah. So
how long did he pitch?
5 innings. They've really kept him like in the 5 inning since he came back from the injury. So,
okay. Well, you did mention in a do or die game 5, would we feel confident in Carlos Rodon starting that game? Because remember, that's the way it would work out. Carlos Rodon would be slated to pitch that game 5, and you said no.
I would start Gil.
You said you would start Luis Gil. And based on the way they're using Luis Gil right now, he should be rested as an emergency starter. I think that could work. I do. I really think that can work. And you're talking about, again, a winner-take-all series. Yeah, you throw out your best pitcher that you have available. Carlos Rodon won't be that guy. There's no possible way that you can argue that Carlos Rodon in a game 5, and you're going to ask him again to go pitch to Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvi Perez, who Salvi Perez he has a whole season's worth of numbers at this point against Rodon. It's not working. Okay. Same feeling I have with him and the Royals. I have that feeling with Garrett Cole and the Boston Red Sox. I don't have a good feeling. I don't want to see an encore of that. Okay.
No.
So totally agree with your point. Bring in Luis Gil. This is down the road. We still have to get to that point. We need to go steal a game in Kansas City to even make that happen, but let's go get it done.
No, absolutely. And I will throw out there some other options. They could put Gil game 4 and save Cole for game 5. you could also, and think about this.
I like that.
Yeah, I see. You can get creative. I understand some people would be like, no. If we're one game away from ending them, say they win game 3, Clark Schmidt's incredible,
Right.
bullpen's incredible, they win. Game 4, people would be like, let's win this thing. Let's put Cole on the mound. I might go with Louis Seal for game 4. I would really consider it. I would. Because worst comes to worst, I have a game 5 now with Garrett Cole on the mound at Yankee Stadium, and he gets a chance to redeem himself. And he's already pitched in the postseason. You have to feel like you're not losing that game. You have to.
Yeah, and if you do, then you should be.
You
fine
went down
going
with
home
your
at that
ace.
point. Yeah, you should be fine. The same way the Guardians felt today. They brought out Clase in the 8th inning. He gives up a 3-run home run. It was the first 3-run home run he's given up in his entire career. You think the Guardians are thinking, man, we made a mistake bringing Clase in? No.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. It's the best pitcher. He's the best pitcher in the American League. There is no better pitcher than Emmanuel Clase. He throws 100 miles an hour with a cutter. There's nothing you're doing about it. And today, they made them pay. It's unfortunate for them, but you have to just tip your cap. You bring your best. If someone beats your best, you go home and find a new best. That's how that goes.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I will say that right now, I would do Heel game 4, Cole game 5.
Okay.
Some people might look at that as like a defeatist mentality. Like, oh, you're just saying they're going to win game 4. No, but if game 4 isn't a winner take all, then bottom line is I don't need to put Cole out there.
You're not wrong. But I would understand the other side of it is that the Yankees haven't won in 15 years, and you just say, throw your best guy available every single day, and you just pray after that. Best guy available today, and then after that, we're done with it. But of course, if you end up winning that game that you're talking about, and now Cole doesn't have to pitch again, and he pitches in the next series and opening game. So yeah, there's a pro and a con to both sides. That's one thing I had to acknowledge.
Yeah, I like the safety net. Maybe not everybody is, but I think having that safety net, having Cole for game 5, I think is the move. But I don't think either's wrong per se. Well, I'll tell you, the only answer that's wrong is the one that results in Rodon pitching another game in this series.
Yeah, and I also hesitate to call Garrett Cole a safety net at this point. The way he's pitching, I'm
not worried about it. I think it was a bad outing. That I just think, from being rusty and everything, I think it affected him. Sometimes it affects others. Sometimes it doesn't. Didn't affect, as you brought up, Zach Wheeler. Did affect Garrett Cole. So now he'd be in, like, he had already seen this lineup. I think he'd be in a good position. I do. I would not worry about Cole pitching game 5. If anything, I think that's better for Cole. Having him pitch game 4 might be a little too soon if you're worried about Cole. Yeah. Give him that extra day.
No, you're not wrong at all about that.
Yeah, give him the extra day for game 5. I mean, the Yankees need to use their superpower. Their superpower is the fact that they have a rotation that's better than most in this playoff, if we're being honest.
Isn't that crazy? And we don't really trust, you don't really trust any one guy in our rotation right now. Like, you don't say, oh, he's just guaranteed. Like, for example, Tarek Skubal, right? Detroit knows if we go into a series and Skubal's on the mound, you're not scoring. I mean, it's done with.
They didn't score. Okay. They only had 3 hits today, the Guardians.
Right. He's going to dominate. He dominated. He's going to dominate his next start. It's the same way every time. It's the way I saw Garrett Cole during the COVID postseason where he was pitching in front of a bunch of mannequins. I knew Garrett Cole was just going to dominate the entire time. I did. So, but what's ironic about that is that we have to remember this all in unison. The rest of Major League Baseball, they feel the exact same way about their pitching. So if you think, oh, I don't trust Garrett Cole. Oh my gosh, Rodon in game 5, what are we going to do? Remember, Reagan's is one of the Royals' best pitchers that they have. One of their best. He was not good at all today. He couldn't even throw a strike. So if you guys think we're the only team that is not confident about their starting pitching right now, No, everyone has question marks. Everyone's got question marks, and they're probably not in their bullpen. Kansas City and Cleveland are probably one of the only two teams that are like, yeah, we got that figured out. But
Philly
in terms of
pitched
starting pitching, come on.
Christopher Sanchez versus Luis Severino. Like that just happened.
Right.
And then you have the Padres pitching Yu Darvish, and you got the Dodgers pitching Jack Flaherty. But it's like the Dodgers don't have much else. They've used Yamamoto. They've used Flaherty.
Yamamoto got hit.
Yeah, and so did Flaherty. He gave up 4 runs.
Oh, yeah, so, Flaherty start. See, that's why we got to talk all baseball, because that Flaherty start today was probably the most entertaining thing that happened all day. Yeah, that was so cool.
So Michael King is facing Walker Buehler. Okay, you have that. But I really don't think, I mean, when Nestor Cortez is healthy too, the Yankees rotation is so expanded. There's no one that even comes close to it. I don't think anybody has.
Walker Buehler's been bad the entire season.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know.
The Padres are going to win that game. The very next game of the series, they're going to win that game. And so think about
Dodgers are in trouble. I mean, who are they starting? Landon Knack is going to start the next game. That's what I see according to their depth chart here. Landon Knack.
Okay.
So, I mean, that could be
we know he doesn't have pedigree pitching in October. I know that
could be certain. Literally all or nothing for the Dodgers if they lose this game, and then they have to put on Landon Knack on the mound against the Padres lineup.
Yeah, and it can work, but these guys have the talent to make it work. But there is no certainty outside of Detroit, and they're starting
with what
pitching,
the Yankees have. You know, that's why I brought it up, because people were like, "Yeah, this is a Dodger podcast." Like, no, just bringing it up. But yeah, I feel good about the Yankees winning this series. I just think it's important to see how right now Kansas City's in the driver's seat. Yankees have to prove me otherwise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel good about the fact that this is very black and white. If we don't get a resurgence or an appearance out of Aaron Judge, then there's nothing else to talk about. We're not going to win this series if Aaron Judge is anemic. What he was in game, because I know today people look at the box score and say, well, he was 1 for 3. He had an infield single and he walked. Aaron Judge is not paid to hit infield singles and walk. Okay. He's there to drive the ball, hit balls hard. And then a lot of those balls that he hits hard, they go into the seats. Okay. They're called home runs. That's the reason that people walk around Yankee Stadium and all over the world in pinstripes number 99. That's why. So if he doesn't make an appearance, I like the idea that he has to grow as a player mentally for us to go to the next level. I like that test early, because if we get over and get past this, the Yankees should be up and running. So we're either going to sink or swim, Jake.
Hopefully we're not sinking. I hear that's bad.
It's my turn for the movie. So
it is.
We're done, correct?
Okay, beautiful. Mailbag.
Okay, we did have a mailbag. Go ahead.
Yes, Ed W. Ortiz and A-Rod had a great perspective on Judge's playoff performance. Here he is, right on topic. Mm-hmm. Ortiz noticed that regular season Judge has been waiting for his pitches and keeping a tight zone, but in the playoffs he has expanded, trying to force the action. A-Rod commented that he did the same thing until 2009 and attributed to his success that year to put the pressure aside and stayed disciplined. Obviously, the world can change before the next show after game 2, but no matter what happens, can you give us your observations? Thanks.
I would love to answer this.
I know
it actually reminds me a lot. Do you remember the conversation we had about Anthony Volpe? Mm-hmm. And people, they still talk about it. This kid, and I'm going to circle it back to Aaron Judge here, but he just can't seem to figure out what to swing at and what not to. He's just chasing balls in and out of the zone. He's got no idea. And they said earlier in the year he was swinging at strikes, and I actually bit back on that. I said, no, not only is he swinging at strikes, he's taking strikes that are pitchers' pitches, and he is swinging at hitters' pitches. That's what you want. And that's something that Aaron Judge perfected in the regular season. That's who he was. He would take a fastball on the corner, and he seemed unfazed that pitch. He can get a bad call off the corner, and you're like, oh, really? To Aaron Judge, very next pitch on the corner again, called a ball, same pitch, and then he'll get a pitch under his hands. It's now 2-1. Then all of a sudden you get a hanging breaking ball, and he just makes him pay. You're like, oh, wow, he just has baseball figured out. He does. And what he figured out is when you get a pitch in the heart of the plate, those are the pitches you hit. You don't just wait for strikes and then just hit strikes. That's not baseball. That's MLB The Show. That's not real life. Most players, and you guys, YouTube will do you guys a lot of service, and I think a lot of people understand this already. Go to YouTube and look up Manny Ramirez home run highlights for the Dodgers, right? Super fun to watch. Watch Albert Pujols, Brad Lidge home run over the train tracks. Tell me where those pitches were. Were they breaking balls on the corner? Were they fastballs in off the plate? No. They were hanging breaking balls, middle, and the best players in the world don't let you get away with that. That's something that Aaron Judge just has to get back to. Don't sweat taking strikes. It's okay. That's why they give you 3. Let them go. If they call pitches on the corner, more than likely, Reagans, Seth Lugo, all the guys, Waka, they're not going to hit 3 corners in a row. If they do, they're in the Hall of Fame. They are. So just let them make a mistake and then do what you do, which is make them pay on a pitch middle. So yeah, what A-Rod, what David Ortiz said, perfect point to make. And hopefully, I'm assuming Aaron Judge won't listen to it because you highly doubt they're just watching TV on what to get better at. But you never know. Maybe they did listen.
Yeah. I took the liberty of looking up all of these splits against Seth Lugo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not ideal. So apparently Judge has never gotten a hit against him, 0 for 8.
What were Judge's numbers against Michael Wacha? Because I know they're not good.
Like 0 for 16. How do they just happen to have the pitchers that are like the worst pitchers Judge could go up against? I find that funny. Jazz
some
Chisholm
teams just do that, yeah.
1 for 11. Stanton 3 for 14. Soto 4 for 16. All against Lugo for career. And let's look at Glaber. 3 for 11. And Verdugo. And then I'll wrap. 3 for 7.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so Alex Verdugo is going to have to carry the team tomorrow. Just so you know.
Verdugo's hitting 3rd. Jason Dominguez is 0 for 0 against Lugo. He's playing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Ed, we appreciate the support and the mailbag there. I like that as well, but I figured I'd let Gary answer it because that's something that I feel like we were talking about that off air, but yeah, field level shout outs. Juan Cepeda, Kid from LI, Carlos Morero, Jeff J, AW, Brian Fuchs, Ryan Hoffman, Rich Squires, Joshua Halleckman, Egyptian Magician, Nick Gomes, Jalen Sestero, JT Roberts, Mickey G, Ronnie, Tony Jones, and Insight. We appreciate you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Follow us on all social media. Our socials are below. And check out our Discord. It is free. And if you want to become a member, you can do so. Link is in the description, the comments section below. Gary, what are people putting in the comments section for movies to show that they lasted this long?
So remember that you said the Yankees have to go steal a game in Kansas City. We shouldn't even call steal a game. They got to go win a game on the road. And we're one of the best road teams in baseball, actually the best. But the ugly truth is that if we don't win one of those games, we're going home. Okay. We just are. So I'm going with the movie, The Ugly Truth. Gerard Butler. Movie came out in 2009, happens to be the last time we won a World Series. So put The Ugly Truth in the comment section if you stuck around.
You heard him, guys. The Ugly Truth. Hopefully we don't have to find out the ugly truth in real life, but you can watch the movie if you really are into that. So put it in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
And like this video.